Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Pause the video right now to check out my social media, my radio show, and thatdrummerguy.com. And most of all, enjoy the following presentation.
Hello.
Hi, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for taking the time to do this interview.
Of course, my pleasure.
Well, awesome. Well, of course, we are here to talk about everything going on in the world of Silent Rival right now, including the debut album, The Kindness of Strangers. First of all, before we get into everything, how did this band come to be?
Well, Jaws and I had been running around in the same circle of songwriters, I guess, and we had spent like a year almost maybe writing together, and then we decided to start a band, and that was our former band. And then that band like put out an EP, and we went on tour and got ready to write and record an album. And then like one member quit and one member kind of waited to be fired, and then it was just me and Jaws. So when we wrote the album, it was just the two of us collaborating and with our producer Matt Wallace. And then it just ended up sounding so different because it was a different, lineup. And we thought the best thing to do was just call it something different and start over. And then when we were looking for the other musicians, when we were recording the bass, Jaws said he was thinking of Yutaka, this bass player that he had played with in the band previous to Silent Rival. And I knew who he was because when Jaws and I were just like songwriting buddies, I would come to their shows sometimes, and he was just like the coolest bass player I've ever seen times 50. So when Jaws was recording the bass, he had Yutaka in mind, and he was kind of like asking himself, what would Yutaka do here? And imagining Yutaka playing the bass. So I feel like he kind of manifested it or magically kind of channeled him somehow, because we put ads up to find a bass player and a drummer, and Yutaka heard the music and could tell that it had a Jaws vibe to it. So he texted Jaws and asked him if he was looking for a bass player. And then we didn't have to audition anyone, and he just became the bass player. And that's pretty much it.
Oh, that's so cool that it shows that with the connections that you do make with the local community, when times do come to be able to start up a new band or a new project, that once you make the right connections, you will find the right people.
Yeah, we've always found people. That's definitely the good thing about being here. I don't know if it's much harder elsewhere, but we've always had good luck finding really talented people.
So what went into the songwriting for the debut album?
Well, we had been writing together for a really long time, so we kind of have a flow, he and Jaws and I. So we got back from tour and like 2 days later started writing the album. And at first we just got every single idea. Like we had a bunch of voice notes in our phone, and we one by one went through them and made sure they were more complete, like with all having chords and all having melodies. And then we put it into Pro Tools or whatever, just so that we'd have like a rough sketch. And a lot of them actually, like, there were almost 0% lyrics written, so I just kind of hummed or like sang a la or something like that. And then we weeded out the ones with the stronger melodies and vibes and stuff like that. And once we had a good amount of those, then that's when I started writing the lyrics. And I think it might have been sort of weird for everybody that I didn't get into the lyric stage earlier on. But this is just kind of the way I wanted to do it this time. So after we did the lyrics, then it was just recording. Then it was like, actually, that's when the real production happened, because we recorded the drums, and then Jaws did all the instruments. And then I just focused on singing my best, and that was it.
So when you had this in mind of focusing on the lyrics later in the songwriting process, did that help you become inspired about what you wanted to talk about, or was that more frustration, or how did that go about?
It started as frustration because I know when I like a lyric, I know when I consider it good and when I consider it finished, but the process of doing it isn't always easy or fun for me, because the music part is the fun part. And I don't know, I guess I just wanted to like not open a can of worms before I had to.
And yeah, that does make sense. I mean, like especially when you're forming a new band like this, I mean, you want to make sure that everything's working great as far as like the songwriting and the musicianship and the overall theme of what the band is going to be about. So, it's like when you don't need to focus on the lyrics right away and you are able to focus on other things, when you do come back to it, it can help.
When you come back to the...
Oh, when you come back to the lyrical process.
Yeah. And then, I rewrote everything a bunch of times too. And I listened to what Jaws or what Matt Wallace had to say about it, even my manager, and took that into account. Like some of their ideas were helpful, and others I was just like, nope, this is my domain. I will be an anal bitch about it.
And speaking of that, was there like any particular moments that stand out to you when it came to that?
Yeah, there was a song that kind of came out when we had finished, let me think. We had finished all the songwriting for all the songs, and we were working on just, recording the other parts. And Jaws wrote a song on the guitar with just a melody, just messing around one day, and we really liked it. So we were like, okay, let's do this one too on the fly in the studio. And I don't know why that's the one that I chose, but I had been wanting to write a song about Detroit ever since I went on tour with our former band and we passed through there. And for some reason, it didn't happen during the rest of the songwriting process. And this song, when I was trying to think of what it could be about, I heard the chorus and I heard in my head, like, I still find it beautiful. And I was like, oh my gosh, maybe that can be the Detroit song. So then I kind of went with that. And at first it got off to a rocky start because I was I guess I was like in a different zone. It was much less like listening to your muse, like whisper the lyrics in your ear, and much more like active, this is what I want it to be, And those kinds of songs like don't click as naturally. So it took a little bit more work. But and during that process, like everybody was a little skeptical, and I just kind of told them, like, trust me, I'm really passionately excited about this, and I know it's going to be good. And then finally, after a few rewrites, I got it to where I wanted it, and it ended up being one of our favorite songs on the album. So
yeah, and I was going to mention later that I really did think that was one of the more standout tracks on the album. So I mean, it's really cool to be able to have that kind of process that goes along with that.
Yeah.
So of course the debut album is of course available now. With this being your debut album, what has been the reception to the album so far?
I think the reception's pretty good. But I mean, people are just good, so it's really hard to tell. Like, we went on tour with Night Riots and Frank Iero, and we basically played to rooms full of fans that were not ours, and rooms full of people who had never heard of us before. So we didn't know what to expect, but every single group of people were just amazing. And I think the album's really great, but these people were really great too. And it was just we were just a good match for each other. So, I mean, I guess if you put it in front of the right people, the reception's really good.
Yeah, and that's got to be a great feeling. I mean, it's one thing to be able to play a show and you have all these people in the crowd that just love your music and love what you're doing and know everything song for song. But when you're able to win over people people who aren't familiar with you, and you are able to make an impact like that. I mean, that's got to be such a great feeling.
It was a really great feeling. It was like, ever since our former bands up until now, like what we do this for, to be able to connect with you, not in a way where like they're giving you like praise or the recognition or anything like that. It's like making a new friend, but a really special friend that you don't have to get to know in the regular way where you go out to coffee and you ask them what their dad does for a living and stuff like that. It's like making instant friends based on this thing you have in common that is like at the heart of you.
Yeah, and that's the great thing when it comes to the artist and the fan relationship, is when the artist or the fans are able to share experiences with each other, either through musical means or through social media or meeting each other during a show, and you're able to inspire each other in such a great way.
Yep, that's the best part.
So with being able to have this amazing debut album and being able to do these great shows and touring, what's next for the band?
We're going to be going on a tour at the end of October until Christmas Eve, just all over the U.S. So that's going to be pretty long and fun. And again, that's what we're doing this for, to go on tour, And then after that, we're gonna have to kind of like look at statistics or whatever. I don't know. That's my manager's job, and decide like where we want to go from there when we get back from tour. If we want to get back into writing an album, if we want to do just a single, if we want to release something from this album, we don't know yet.
Well, it's cool to see that all these things are in motion so far, and just like with 2018 coming up so soon, just like weighing out all your options, seeing what you want to do. I mean, there's a lot of things that can be done. It seems like you guys are going about that the right way.
I mean, yeah, sure. That's kind of my manager's area of expertise, and we kind of just let him do his thing. But he's been kind of doing a good job so far, so we're really happy with it, with how things are going.
Oh, it's great to hear. And of course, with the notoriety that you guys are starting to get, I mean, it's great to see all the reception that did come with Die a Little, with all the promotion that was coming along in California and then elsewhere, like getting such high praise. That's going to be a great feeling as well.
Yeah, it was. I remember when we first put the video out, and I went on YouTube to see some of the comments, and like everyone was just saying such nice things, and it was really like humbling. Now I can't even read it because I feel embarrassed, like I want to hide when I read all the comments, but we're really, really grateful that it's been making the impact that it has so far.
And, with getting this notoriety for the songwriting, the debut album and everything, was there any material left over from the album that didn't make it into the album that might show up in the future?
We have a few things. I don't know if they'll show up in the future because since we've recorded the album, we've evolved a little bit, and I think we've evolved away from those songs that are left over instead of toward them. But we've been writing just, casually for fun to kind of build up a whatever, what do you call it? A bag of tricks to choose from when the time comes. And we're more excited about our demos so far, which don't have any lyrics, and some of them don't have melodies, but they're just really Silent Rival sounding.
So with that in mind, I mean, with the debut album, I mean, there's a lot of great diversity that goes in there. Some of the heavier moments, the more soft-spoken moments as well. I mean, there's a lot of great emotion that's showing off in there.
Thank you.
Oh, not a problem. When it comes to the new songs, when you say it's in that Silent Rival style, I mean, is there anything in motion yet for the direction that it's going to be going in, or is that too early to say yet?
I think it's going to be a little on the harder side of Silent Rival, so it'll be more Die a Little Paranoid type of stuff.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, and again, that's what I really appreciate about the band. I mean, you are able to write these kind of harder, heavier songs, but you are able to show off the diversity throughout the rest of the album as well, and being able to show off that you aren't just one style of a band, that you have so many sides to you.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh, not a problem. Well, Sarah, thank you so very much for taking all this time to be able to talk to me about everything that's going on in the world of Silent Rival right now. having discovered you guys this year and being able to check out the album and really divulge into it, it was a great honor to be able to talk to you, and really happy to see all of the praise that you guys are getting, and I'm just hoping that continues in the future, because I can tell you guys definitely deserve it. And when
Thank you so much.
Oh, not a problem. And yeah, and when it comes to like 2018, I just hope those touring opportunities come up more and more, and then the songwriting process just becomes that much more inspired, and you guys just are able to kick off bigger and better than ever before.
Thank you so much.
Oh, not a problem. Before we wrap things up here, is there anything else you'd like to mention that I hadn't brought up yet?
Just come say hi to us on social media, because we didn't get our Instagram going till pretty recently. So come say what's up. We're like pretty responsive, and if you want to say hi and tell us your birthday, we'll be there. And that's an easy way to reach us. We usually reply to everybody.